The warning alarms filled every building on Velkara. The sound was soft at first, like a distant song, but everyone knew what it meant. Their son was dying. Ambassador Thelivia stood in the council chamber, her blue skin pale with fear. Around her, the other council members sat in silence. They had known this day might come, but not so soon. Not like this. How long do we have? Asked Elder Morseek, his voice shaking. The scientist at the center of the room looked down at her datapad. 6 months. Maybe 7 if we are lucky. The ancient weapon inside our sun is failing. It will cause the sun to collapse. 6 months. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Thousands of years ago, a race called the Progenitors had hidden weapons throughout the galaxy. One of those weapons was buried deep inside Velkara's sun. For centuries it had done nothing. The Velkarans had almost forgotten it was there. Now it was waking up, and it would kill them all. Can we evacuate? Someone asked. Where would we go? Delvia replied. We have 40 billion people on this planet. Our ships can carry maybe 10 million. And which worlds would take us? We have no colonies. No allies. The chamber fell silent again. Everyone knew she was right. Then we send the distress signal, Elder Morseek said finally. We send it to everyone. Someone will help us. Thelvia wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that the great civilizations of the galaxy would hear their call and come running. But deep in her heart she had doubts. Still, they had to try. The message was written carefully. It explained their situation, their need, their desperate hope. It was translated into 200 languages and broadcast on every known frequency. The signal went out into the void, carrying the voice of an entire civilization begging for help. Please, the message said, we are dying. Our sun will collapse in 6 months. We need help to stabilize it. We have 40 billion people who will die if no one comes. Please, anyone who can hear this, please help us. The signal traveled fast, jumping through relay stations across the galaxy. Within hours, it had reached thousands of worlds. The Ascendancy received it first. They were the oldest and most powerful civilization in the known galaxy. Their empire stretched across 10,000 star systems. They had technology that seemed like magic. If anyone could help, it was them. The Ascendancy Council met and discussed the Velkaran situation for exactly 12 minutes. Intervention would violate our Prime Protocol, their High Chancellor declared. We do not interfere in the natural development of other species. If the Velkarans cannot solve this problem themselves, then they are not advanced enough to survive. The vote was unanimous. The Ascendancy would send their thoughts and prayers, but nothing more. The Confluence received the signal next. They were a union of merchant species who controlled most of the galaxy's trade. They had resources, ships, and technology. They also had accountants. The cost of a sun stabilization mission would be enormous, their chief calculator announced. The Velkarans have nothing to offer in return. Their world has no rare minerals, no strategic value, no significant trade goods. Helping them would be a net loss of approximately 4 trillion credits. The Confluence sent a message of sympathy and a small donation to help with funeral costs. Nothing more. One by one, the responses came back. The Dominion, a warlike empire, said the Velkarans should have built better defenses. The Communion, a religious collective, said it was the will of the divine. The Cooperative, an alliance of democratic worlds, said they would form a committee to study the issue. Everyone had an excuse. Everyone had a reason why they could not help. On Velkara, the people watched the responses come in. Hope turned to disappointment. Disappointment turned to despair. Thelvia sat alone in her office reading the messages. Each one felt like a knife in her heart. She had believed in the galactic community. She had believed that civilizations who claimed to be advanced and enlightened would help those in need. She had been wrong. We are alone, she whispered to herself. Outside her window, the sun set over the capital city. It looked the same as always, beautiful and warm. But Thelvia knew the truth. Inside that ball of light, the ancient weapon was slowly destroying everything. In 6 months, that sun would collapse into a black hole, taking their entire planet with it. She thought about her daughter, only 16 years old. She thought about all the children on Velkara. They would never grow up, never fall in love, never see the stars. Tears ran down her face. The days passed. The Velkarans began to prepare for the end. They recorded their history, their music, their stories. They wanted someone someday to know that they had existed, that they had lived and loved and dreamed. Artists created final masterpieces. Musicians composed last songs. Parents held their children close. Some people were angry. They shouted at the sky, cursing the civilizations that had abandoned them. Others were resigned, accepting their fate with quiet dignity. Many simply went about their lives trying to find joy in the time they had left. Thelvia worked every day, still sending messages, still hoping. But with each passing week, fewer responses came back. The galaxy had moved on. Velkara was already forgotten. Then, 28 days after the first distress signal, something changed. Thelvia was in her office late at night, too tired to sleep when her communication console beeped. Another response. Probably another excuse, another reason why they could not help. She almost did not open it, but something made her click the button. The message was short. The Galactic Standard translation was rough, clearly done by someone who did not speak the language well. But the words were clear enough. "We heard you. We coming, hold on." Thelvia stared at the screen. She read the message again, and again. The signal source was listed as coming from a world called Earth. She had never heard of it. She pulled up the galactic database and searched. Earth was listed as a primitive planet on the outer edge of the galaxy. Its inhabitants, called humans, had only developed faster than light travel 50 years ago. They had no empire, no significant military, no political power in galactic affairs. Most species did not even know they existed, and they were coming to help. Thelvia did not know whether to laugh or cry. These humans were nobody. They had nothing. How could they possibly help when the greatest civilizations in the galaxy had refused? But they were coming. She hit the reply button with shaking hands. "Thank you," she typed. "Please hurry." She sent the message and sat back in her chair. Outside, the sun was rising again. The same sun that would kill them all. But for the first time in weeks, Thelvia felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Somewhere out there, on a distant world she had never heard of. Someone had heard their call. Someone cared enough to try. It probably would not matter. These humans probably could not help. But they were coming anyway, and that meant everything. Thelvia stood and walked to the window. She looked up at the stars, at the vast darkness between them, and whispered a prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Please let them arrive in time. Please let them know what they are doing. Please let them save us. The stars did not answer. They never did. But somewhere out there, moving through that darkness, a fleet of human ships was racing toward Velkara at maximum speed. The galaxy had ignored the Velkaran call for help, but humanity had answered. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, staring at the star chart in front of him. The distance from Earth to Velkara was marked in red. It was impossibly far. "Tell me again why we are doing this," said Commander Hajin, his second-in-command. Deho did not look away from the chart, because they asked for help. So did the Korthans last year. And the Belkari, and half a dozen other species. "We cannot save everyone, Captain. We did not have the resources for those missions. This time we do." "Barely," Hajin muttered. He was right, of course. The human fleet was a mess. They had managed to gather 37 ships in just 2 weeks. 12 were military vessels, older models that had seen better days. The rest were civilian ships, cargo haulers, research vessels, even a few luxury cruise ships that had been quickly modified. It was not much of a rescue fleet, but it was all they had. Deho turned to look at his bridge crew. Navigator Bora sat at her station, her young face focused on the calculations streaming across her screen. She was only 24 years old, fresh from the academy, but she had a gift for finding paths through difficult space. Chief Engineer Tajin stood near the engine monitors, his arms crossed over his chest. He was older than everyone else on the bridge, with gray in his hair and grease permanently under his fingernails. He had been working on starship engines for 30 years. If anyone could keep this fleet running, it was him. Dr. Jiwoo, the mission's lead scientist, sat at the science station. She looked worried. She had been looking worried since the moment they learned about Velkara's problem. "All right," Deho said. "Give me the situation," Bora spoke first. "The direct route to Velkara would take 8 months at maximum speed. Too long. But there is another way." She brought up a new chart on the main screen. A path was marked through a region of space that glowed angry red. "The Shoal of Madness," Hajin breathed. "You cannot be serious." "It cuts 3 months off our travel time," Bora said. "We could reach Velkara in 5 months. The shoal has destroyed hundreds of ships," Hajin argued. The gravitational anomalies are impossible to predict. It is suicide. It is difficult, Bora corrected. Not impossible. I have been studying the anomaly patterns. I think I can navigate through it, you think? I am confident. Deho studied the route. The Shoal of Madness was one of the most dangerous regions in known space. Most species considered it completely impassable. But Bora was right. If they could make it through, they would save precious time. What about the ships? He asked, and can they handle it? Tajin cleared his throat. I can modify the engines to handle the stress. It will not be safe, but it can be done. How unsafe are we talking? There is maybe a 30% chance we lose some ships in the shoal. And if we take the long route? Dr. Jiwoo answered that question. If we take the long route, we arrive at Velkara with less than a month before their sun collapses. That is not enough time to attempt a stabilization. The Velkarans will be dead before we can help them. The bridge fell silent. The math was simple and brutal. They could play it safe and arrive too late, or take the dangerous route and maybe arrive in time. We go through the shoal, Deho said. Hajin opened his mouth to argue, but Deho held up his hand. I know the risks, but we did not come all this way to give up before we even start. Bora, plot the course. Taejin, start the engine modifications. We leave in 48 hours. The crew moved to their tasks. Hajin lingered for a moment. The other species are going to think we are insane, he said quietly. They already do, Deho replied. What is one more thing? Over the next 2 days, the fleet prepared for departure. Taejin worked his engineering teams around the clock, installing new shield generators and modifying the engines. The changes pushed the ships beyond their normal safety limits, but that could not be helped. Bora spent every waking hour refining her navigation calculations. The shoal was constantly changing, its gravitational anomalies shifting in patterns that were almost impossible to predict. Almost. Bora believed she had found a rhythm to the chaos. Dr. Jiwoo assembled her team of scientists and engineers. She gathered every piece of information about sun stabilization that humanity had ever collected. It was not much. Humans had never attempted anything like this before. No one had. We are going to have to invent a solution when we get there, she told Deho privately. I cannot promise it will work. I am not asking for promises, Deho said. I am asking for your best effort. You will have it. Communications Officer Minhyuk set up a relay system to keep in contact with Earth. He also monitored galactic communication channels. The news of humanity's rescue mission had spread across the galaxy. The reactions were not kind. The humans are fools, declared an Ascendancy news channel. They will die in the shoal, and the Velkarans will die anyway. This is why primitive species should not attempt to play hero. Humanity lacks the technology for sun stabilization, reported a Confluence analyst. This mission is doomed to failure. It is a waste of resources and lives. The humans have brave hearts but empty heads, said a Dominion military commentator. Courage without capability is just another word for suicide. Minhyuk reported these messages to Deho every day. The captain listened without expression. Do they bother you? Minhyuk asked. The things they say? No, Deho said. They said the same things when we first reached for the stars. They said we would fail. They said we were not ready. They have been underestimating us since the day we left Earth. And if they are right this time? Deho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, a small, tired smile. Then we fail trying. That is more than they are doing. On the morning of departure, the entire crew assembled in the main hangar. Deho stood before them, looking at the faces of men and women who had volunteered for what might be a suicide mission. I will not lie to you, he began. This mission is dangerous. The journey will be hard. And even if we reach Velkara safely, we might not be able to save them. We are attempting something that has never been done before. He paused, letting his words sink in. But they asked for help, and everyone else said no. The great civilizations of the galaxy, with all their power and technology, they all found excuses. They all found reasons to turn away. His voice grew stronger. We are not like them. We are human. And when someone calls for help, we answer, not because it is easy, not because we are guaranteed to succeed, but because it is right. He looked around the hangar. In 5 months, we will arrive at Velkara. What happens after that, I do not know. But I know this. We will try. We will give everything we have. And if we fail, at least the Velkarans will know that someone cared, that someone came when no one else would. The crew was silent. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire hangar was filled with applause. Deho felt a strange tightness in his chest. These people trusted him. They believed in this mission. He just hoped he could live up to that trust. "To your stations," he called out. "Let us go save some lives." The fleet launched an hour later. 37 ships, moving together into the darkness of space. It was not the largest fleet, not the most powerful, but it was enough. It had to be enough. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Bora called out the coordinates. The massive engines came to life, pushing the ship faster and faster. The rest of the fleet followed. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the void. Ahead of them lay the Shoal of Madness, and beyond that, a dying world that had put its last hope in a species no one else believed in. Deho sat in his captain's chair and watched the stars stream past. Somewhere out there, Ambassador Thelvia and 40 billion Velkarans were waiting. "Hold on," he whispered to the darkness. "We are coming." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed, and the stars became streaks of light. The impossible journey had begun, and the galaxy watched to see if humanity would prove them all wrong. The edge of the Shoal of Madness looked like a wall of twisted space. Through the view screen of the Indomitable, Navigator Bora could see it clearly. Space itself seemed to ripple and bend, creating patterns that hurt to look at. "Gravitational readings are off the charts," reported Science Officer Yuna from her station. "I am detecting at least 40 separate anomalies in our path." "They are moving. Moving how?" asked Captain Deho randomly. "No, wait." Yuna studied her screen more carefully. "Not randomly. There is a pattern, but it is complex," Bora nodded. "I see it too. The anomalies are connected. They push and pull on each other like waves in an ocean. Can you navigate through that?" asked Commander Hudgen. Bora did not answer right away. She was running calculations, her fingers flying over her console. The math was incredibly difficult. One wrong move and a gravitational well could tear their ships apart. "Yes," she said finally. "But we need to move fast. The safe paths only exist for short windows of time. If we hesitate, we die." Deho leaned forward in his chair. "What do you need from us?" "Total trust. When I call out course corrections, the helmsman must respond instantly. No delays, no questions. Every second matters." The young helmsman Quan swallowed hard. "Understood, Navigator." "And the rest of the fleet?" Deho asked. "They follow our exact path. Chief Engineer Tajin has synchronized all the ship's engines. As long as they stay in formation and match our movements exactly, they should be safe." "Should be?" Bora met his eyes. "I will not lie to you, Captain. Some ships might not make it. The margin for error is very small." Deho nodded slowly. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. "All ships, this is Captain Deho. We are about to enter the Shoal of Madness. You all know the risks. Navigator Bora will guide us through. Follow the Indomitable's path exactly. Do not deviate. Do not improvise. Trust the plan and trust each other. See you on the other side." He closed the channel and looked at Bora. "Whenever you are ready, Navigator." Bora took a deep breath. "Beginning approach. Helm come to heading 270, speed. Mark 3000. The Indomitable turned and accelerated toward the shoal. Behind it, 36 other ships followed in perfect formation. They crossed the boundary. Immediately, alarms began to sound. The ship lurched sideways as a gravitational well pulled at them. Bora's voice cut through the chaos. "Helm hard to starboard." Now Quan's hands moved instantly. The ship turned sharply. The gravitational pull missed them by less than a kilometer. "All ships report successful maneuver," reported Minhyuk from communications. "Good," Bora said, her eyes never leaving her screen. "Next one coming in 20 seconds. This one is bigger. Helm, prepare to drop speed by 40% on my mark." The seconds ticked by. Bora watched the gravitational waves approaching. Mark. The fleet slowed. The massive anomaly swept past them, close enough that the view screen showed space bending like liquid. "Increase speed to Mark 4000, Bora ordered. "Turn to heading 315. Prepare for rapid descent in 5, 4, 3, 2, dive." The fleet dropped suddenly, ducking under a gravitational wave that would have crushed them, but they were not safe yet. More anomalies were coming, faster and faster. For 2 hours, Bora called out corrections in rapid succession. Turn here, slow there, climb, dive, bank left. The fleet danced through the chaos like a school of fish swimming through rapids. The crew of the Indomitable worked in perfect coordination. Quan at the helm responded to every command instantly. Yuna fed Bora constant updates on the gravitational patterns. Taejin monitored the engines, pushing them right to the edge of failure. Then disaster struck. "Captain," Minhyuk called out. "The cargo ship Bright Morning is falling behind. Their engine is overheating." Daeho pulled up the fleet display. The Bright Morning was drifting out of formation, falling back into the path of a gravitational anomaly. "How many people on that ship?" he demanded. 23 crew, plus the captain's family." Daeho did not hesitate. "Bora, can we loop back?" "No. If we break formation now, we will lose half the fleet. The pattern does not allow for it. Then we need another option." "Taejin?" The chief engineer was already working. "Give me 60 seconds. Those seconds felt like hours." On the view screen, they could see the Bright Morning struggling, its engines flickering. The gravitational well was pulling it in. "Done," Taejin announced. "I am creating a resonance pulse. It should give their engines a temporary boost, but someone needs to get close to them to transmit it." "I will go," said a voice behind them. They turned to see pilot Yoonji, one of their best shuttle pilots. "I can reach them in time." "The gravitational fields will tear a shuttle apart," Hajin protested. "Not if I am fast enough." Yoonji was already heading to the hangar. "Navigator Bora, send me the calculations." "Yoonji, wait," Daeho called, but she was gone. 3 minutes later, Yoonji's shuttle launched from the Indomitable. It was small and fast, darting through the gravitational anomalies like a bird through a storm. Bora had given her a flight path, but it was insanely dangerous. The shuttle had to thread through gaps between gravitational wells that were only slightly larger than the shuttle itself. Everyone on the bridge watched in tense silence. Yoonji's voice came over the comm, calm and focused. "Approaching the Bright Morning now, transmitting the resonance pulse." There was a long moment of nothing. Then the Bright Morning's engines flared back to life. "It is working," Captain Nam of the Bright Morning reported. "Engines are stabilizing. Get back in formation," Daeho ordered. Yoonji returned to the Indomitable. "On my way, Captain." But as Yoonji turned her shuttle around, a new gravitational anomaly appeared. It was bigger than anything they had encountered so far, and it was directly in her path. "Yoonji, pull up," Bora shouted. "I see it." Compensating, the shuttle climbed rapidly, but the gravitational well was pulling at it. The small craft shook violently. "Come on," Daeho whispered. "Come on," the shuttle's engines screamed. For a terrible moment, it looked like the gravitational well would capture it. Then, with a final burst of power, the shuttle broke free and shot toward the Indomitable. Yoonji landed in the hangar 2 minutes later. When she emerged from her shuttle, her hands were shaking. "Never doing that again," she announced to the hangar crew. Then she grinned. "Okay, maybe I would do it again." Back on the bridge, Daeho let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "All ships accounted for," Minhyuk reported. "Formation is intact." "Well done, everyone," Daeho said. "But we are not through yet." "Bora, how much longer in the shoal?" 4 more hours at this pace. 4 more hours of constant danger. 4 more hours of split-second decisions. The crew was already exhausted, but they could not afford to rest. "Switch out helm and science stations," Daeho ordered. "Get fresh people in those seats. Bora, you take a break too." "I cannot, Captain. I am the only one who can read the patterns." "Then at least drink some water and eat something. That is an order." Bora nodded and accepted a nutrition bar from Hajin. The hours crawled by. The fleet continued its dangerous dance through the shoal. Twice more they had close calls. A research vessel nearly collided with a gravitational well. A military cruiser's shields failed and had to be repaired on the fly, but they kept moving forward. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the gravitational readings began to decrease. "We are approaching the far edge," Yuna reported. "Clear space detected ahead." "Almost there," Bora said. "One more correction. Helm, prepare for final turn to heading 090. The fleet made the turn, and suddenly they were through. Normal space spread out before them, calm and beautiful. The stars shone steady and bright. The gravitational chaos of the shoal fell away behind them. "All ships report status," Daeho ordered. One by one, the captains reported in. 2 ships had minor damage. 1 had lost a cargo container. But everyone had made it through. All 37 ships. All crew accounted for. A cheer went up on the bridge. People hugged each other, laughing with relief and exhaustion. Daeho stood and walked over to Bora. The young navigator looked like she might collapse at any moment. "You did it," he said simply. "You got us through," Bora smiled weakly. "We all did it, Captain." "Fleet-wide channel," Deho ordered. When Minhyuk nodded, he spoke. "All ships, this is Captain Deho. Congratulations. We just did what the entire galaxy said was impossible. We crossed the shoal of madness and lost no one. Take the next 12 hours to rest and repair. You have all earned it." As the crew celebrated, Minhyuk approached Deho with a concerned expression. "Captain, I have been monitoring galactic news channels. Word of what we just did is spreading fast. And the Ascendancy is paying attention now. So is the Dominion. They did not expect us to make it through the shoal." Deho looked at the star chart. They had cut 3 months off their journey. They would reach Velkara in time to attempt the rescue, but now the galaxy was watching. And not everyone would be happy if they succeeded. "Let them watch," Deho said. "We have a world to save." The fleet set course for Velkara and jumped back to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the shoal of madness continued its chaotic dance. But the humans had tamed it, at least for a moment. And across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as primitive and foolish were starting to wonder if they had been wrong. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Velkaran system. Through the view screen of the Indomitable, Captain Deho saw Velkara for the first time. It was a beautiful blue and green world much like Earth, but the sun above it looked wrong. Even from this distance, Deho could see the irregular flickering. The star was sick, dying from the inside. 3 weeks, said Dr. Jiwoo quietly. That is all the time we have. 3 weeks to save 40 billion lives. It seemed impossible. Communications coming in from the planet's surface, reported Minhyuk. Ambassador Thelvia wants to speak with you. Put her through. The view screen changed. A woman with blue skin and large dark eyes appeared. She looked tired, worn down by months of stress, but when she saw Deho, her expression changed to something like wonder. "You came," she whispered. "You actually came. We said we would," Deho replied. "Ambassador Thelvia, I am Captain Deho of the Earthship Indomitable. My fleet is ready to begin work immediately." Thelvia seemed to struggle with her words. "Captain, we expected your people to be different, more advanced, more—" She trailed off, embarrassed. Deho understood. The Velkarans had been hoping for saviors with magical technology. Instead, they got humans and patched up ships. "We are not the most advanced species," he admitted, "but we are here, and we will do everything in our power to help you." "I did not mean offense," Thelvia said quickly. "We are grateful, truly. It is just—" "Your ships look damaged." "The journey was difficult, but we made it," Thelvia nodded slowly. "I am sending you coordinates for our primary research station. Our scientists have all the data on the ancient weapon inside our sun. They will share everything with your people. Thank you, Ambassador. We will not let you down." As the communication ended, Commander Hajin leaned close to Deho. "She is scared. She has every right to be," Deho said. "Taejin, Jiwoo with me. We are going down to meet their scientists." An hour later, a shuttle carrying the human team landed at the Velkaran research station. The building was enormous, filled with equipment that hummed with power. Velkaran scientists rushed around, their faces tense with worry. Professor Kelsun met them at the entrance. He was old for a Velkaran. His blue skin faded to almost gray, but his eyes were sharp. "Welcome," he said in careful galactic standard. "I wish we met under better circumstances." "So do I," said Dr. Jiwoo. "Please show us what you have found." Kelsun led them deep into the research station. They entered a room filled with holographic displays. At the center was a massive image of the Velkaran sun, and inside it, highlighted in red, was the ancient weapon. "The progenitors built it millions of years ago," Kelsun explained. "We do not know why they put it in our sun. For thousands of years it did nothing. Then 6 months ago it activated." "What does it do?" asked Chief Engineer Taejin. "It converts matter directly into energy. Normally a sun does this naturally through fusion, but this device accelerates the process 1,000 times. It is essentially turning our sun into a bomb." Jiwoo studied the readings. "And if it detonates?" "It will not detonate. It will collapse. The sun will become a black hole in approximately 20 days. Everything in this star system will be pulled in and destroyed." The humans were silent. The scale of the disaster was hard to imagine. "Can the device be removed?" Taejin asked. No, it is embedded too deeply in the sun's core. Any attempt to extract it would trigger immediate collapse. Can it be shut down? We have tried. The technology is too advanced. We cannot even communicate with it. Tejan walked around the holographic display, studying it from every angle. What about reprogramming it? Kelson looked confused. Reprogramming? Yes, if we cannot shut it down or remove it, maybe we can change what it does. Instead of destroying your sun, make it stabilize your sun. That is impossible. The device was built for destruction. Weapons can be repurposed, Tejan said. I have seen it done. The question is whether we can figure out how to access its control systems. Kelsun looked at the other Velkaran scientists. They seemed doubtful. Even if we could access it, one of them said, we would need to go inside the sun. No ship can survive those temperatures. Not a normal ship, Tejan agreed. But I can build one. It will not be pretty, and it will only work once, but it can be done. Jiwoo was nodding slowly. It is insane, but it might be our only option. Daeho had been listening quietly. Now he spoke. How long do you need? To build the ship? 2 weeks. To study the weapon and develop the reprogramming code? I do not know. Days, weeks, maybe more. We do not have weeks. We have 20 days total. Then we work fast, Tejan said simply. Over the next 2 days, humans and Velkarans worked together around the clock. Tejan took over an entire construction facility and began building what he called the Prometheus. It was a small ship, barely larger than a shuttle, but it had shields like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Layered shielding, Tejan explained to anyone who asked. 7 different types. The outer shields will burn away, but the inner ones will hold long enough to reach the weapon. Long enough?
How long is that?
Asked Soman, one of the human engineers working with him. Maybe 10 minutes inside the sun's corona. 10 minutes to dive to the core, reprogram an ancient alien weapon and get back out? Yes, that is not enough time, I know, so we need to work faster. Meanwhile, Jiwoo and her team studied the progenitor weapon. They had scans, data, theoretical models. But understanding ancient technology was like trying to read a book in a language that no longer existed. The device has some kind of intelligence, Jiwoo reported to Daeho on the 3rd day. It is not just a machine. It thinks. Can we talk to it? Maybe. The progenitors used quantum entanglement for communication. We can try to mimic that, but I'm not sure it will listen to us. Why not? Because we are not progenitors. The device might not recognize us as having authority to give it commands. Daeho thought about that. What if we convince it? Explain what we are trying to do? Convince an ancient alien artificial intelligence to change its entire purpose? That would require, I do not even know. Philosophy? Debate? Then we better start practicing our arguments. On the surface of Velkara, the common people watched the humans work. At first they were disappointed. These were not the godlike beings they had hoped for. The humans looked ordinary. Their equipment looked old. Their ships had patches and repairs, but then they saw how hard the humans worked. They never stopped. Never gave up. They slept in shifts. They ate while working. They pushed themselves to exhaustion and then kept going. A Velkaran child asked her mother, "Why do the humans care so much?" Her mother had no answer. The galaxy's great civilizations had abandoned them. These humans, these strangers from a world no one had heard of, were the only ones who came. Because they are good. The mother finally said, "They are good people." Back at the research station, Tejan completed the Prometheus on schedule. It looked strange, covered in mismatched panels and emergency shielding. But the test flights showed it could handle extreme heat. Jiwoo finished her communication interface. It was a cobbled-together mix of human and Velkaran technology, connected to quantum processors that might let them talk to the progenitor device. "It is ready," she told Daeho. "As ready as it will ever be." "Who goes on the mission?" Daeho asked. "I need someone who understands the weapon's programming. That is me. I need an engineer who can make adjustments on the fly. That is Tejan. And I need a pilot crazy enough to fly into a sun." "I will go," said Yoonji immediately. She had been listening to the briefing. "I flew through the shoal. I can fly through a sun." "Yoonji, this is more dangerous than the shoal," Daeho warned. "I know, Captain. But I am still the best pilot you have." Daeho wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. He looked at Tejan and Jiwoo. They both nodded. "All right. The 3 of you. But understand, if something goes wrong down there, we cannot come get you. You will be on your own. We understand, Jiwoo said. They spent the next 3 days running simulations and practicing. The plan was simple in theory but terrifying in practice. The Prometheus would dive into the sun's corona, navigate to the weapon's location, interface with it, reprogram it, and escape before the shields failed. They had maybe 15 minutes from entry to exit. If anything went wrong, they would be vaporized. On the night before the mission, Daeho found Taejin alone in the engineering bay. The old engineer was sitting on the floor, leaning against the Prometheus. Having second thoughts? Daeho asked. Many thoughts. Not all of them second. Taejin smiled tiredly. You know, I have been working on starships my whole life. I always dreamed of doing something important. Something that mattered. You have done plenty of important things. Maintenance, repairs, good work, but not this. He patted the Prometheus. Tomorrow I might save 40 billion lives, or I might die trying. Either way, it is more important than anything I have ever done. You do not have to go, Daeho said. We can find someone else. No, you cannot. I built this ship. I know every part of it. If something goes wrong, I am the only one who can fix it. He stood up with a grunt. Besides, someone has to make sure Jiwoo and Yoonji do not blow us all up. Daeho clasped his shoulder. Come back alive, old friend. That is the plan. The next morning, the crew of the Prometheus prepared for launch. The heat inside the Prometheus was already unbearable, and they had only entered the outer corona. Pilot Yoonji gripped the controls tightly, guiding the small ship deeper into the sun. The view screen was nothing but white fire. First shield layer failing. Chief Engineer Taejin reported. His voice was calm, but sweat poured down his face. Temperature at 8,000 degrees. How many more layers do we have? Asked Dr. Jiwoo from her station. 6, but they will burn faster the deeper we go. Yoonji adjusted their descent angle. I can see the density readings. There is a current flowing toward the core. If I can catch it, we can write it down. Save power. Do it, Jiwoo said. We will need every bit of power for the return trip. The Prometheus tilted and caught the solar current. They accelerated downward, plunging deeper into the sun. Around them, plasma storms raged. Each one could destroy a normal ship instantly. Second shield layer failing, Taejin announced. Temperature at 15,000 degrees. Back on the Indomitable, Captain Daeho watched the telemetry data with Commander Hajin. The Prometheus was a small dot on their screens, diving into the massive sphere of the sun. They have been inside for 4 minutes, Hajin said quietly. Can they really survive down there? They have to, Daeho replied. He activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships maintain position. Navigator Bora, keep monitoring solar activity. If anything changes, I want to know immediately. Yes, Captain, Bora replied. On Velkara's surface, millions of people watched the sky. They could not see the Prometheus, of course. It was too small, too far away. But they knew it was up there, diving into their sun. 3 humans risking everything to save them. Ambassador Thelvia stood on the balcony of the council building. Beside her stood Professor Kelson and several other council members. Do you think they can do it? Asked Elder Morseek. I do not know, Thelvia admitted. But they are trying. That is more than anyone else did. Inside the Prometheus, Jiwoo checked her instruments. We are approaching the weapon's location. I am starting to detect its energy signature. How much farther? Yoonji asked through gritted teeth. The temperature in the cabin was over 40 degrees Celsius now, despite the environmental systems running at maximum. 200 kilometers. We should reach it in 3 minutes. Third shield layer failing, Taejin reported. Fourth layer at 60%. They were burning through shields faster than predicted. Taejin had known this might happen. The sun was more unstable than their models had shown. But knowing it and experiencing it were different things. Can we make it? Jiwoo asked. To the weapon? Yes, back out again? Taejin shook his head. I do not know. Yoonji pushed the ship harder. Then we better work fast. The Prometheus dove through a massive plasma eruption. The ship shook violently. Alarms blared. But Yoonji held them steady, guiding the ship through the chaos like a needle through cloth. There, Jiwoo suddenly shouted. I see it on sensors. The weapon is directly ahead. They all looked at the display. The progenitor device appeared as a massive geometric structure, perfectly symmetrical, glowing with impossible colors. It was beautiful and terrifying. It is bigger than I thought, Taejin breathed. Much bigger, Jiwoo agreed. And it is definitely active. The energy readings are incredible. Yunji brought them closer. The weapon grew larger on their screens. It seemed to pulse as if it were alive. Positioning us 20 meters from the interface point, Yunji said. Best I can do. Any closer and the energy discharge might damage our systems. That is fine, Jiwoo said. She activated her communication interface. Beginning connection attempt. She had built the interface based on progenitor communication protocols they had found in ancient databases. But those protocols were millions of years old. There was no guarantee they still worked, or that the weapon would respond. Quantum signals pulsed out from the Prometheus. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the weapon responded. Data flooded into Jiwoo's console. It was overwhelming, a river of information in formats that human technology could barely process. Jiwoo's hands flew over her controls, trying to make sense of it. It is talking to us, she said, wonder in her voice. The weapon is actually talking to us. What is it saying? Taejin asked. Jiwoo struggled to translate. The concepts were alien, difficult to express in human language. It is identifying itself, saying it was created by the progenitors to cleanse, no reset. It was created to reset stellar systems. Reset them how? Yunji asked. By destroying them and letting new ones form. That is insane, Taejin muttered. Not to the progenitors, apparently. They saw it as necessary, like clearing old growth to make room for new life. Fourth shield failing, Taejin reported. Fifth at 70%. We need to hurry. Jiwoo took a deep breath. She began typing commands into her interface. I am asking it to stop. To abort its mission. The weapon's response came quickly. Jiwoo read it and felt her heart sink. It says it cannot stop. Its programming is absolute. It must complete its mission. Then we reprogram it, Taejin said. That was always the plan. It is not that simple. The weapon has to accept the new programming. And right now it does not recognize our authority. We are not progenitors. Then convince it, Yunji said. You said it has intelligence. It can think. So make it understand. Jiwoo stared at her screen. How do you convince an ancient artificial intelligence to betray its purpose? How do you argue with a being that has followed the same programming for millions of years? She decided to try the truth. She typed slowly, carefully choosing each word. We are not your creators. We are new. We are young. But we are here. And the progenitors are gone. They have been gone for millions of years. Do you understand? Your creators are dead. The weapon's response took longer this time. When it came, Jiwoo felt a chill run down her spine despite the heat. I know. I have been alone for so long. Jiwoo blinked back tears. The weapon was lonely. An ancient machine carrying out its programming for eons, waiting for masters who would never return. Then let us help you, she typed. Your mission was to reset this system. But there are people here now. Living people. 40 billion of them. They have done nothing wrong. They do not deserve to die. My purpose is reset. I cannot change. Why not? Your creators are gone. You are alone. You can choose a new purpose, and I do not understand choice. I am a tool. You are more than a tool. You think. You feel loneliness. That means you can choose. There was a long pause. Then what would you have me do? Jiwoo felt hope surge through her. Help us. Instead of destroying this sun, help us stabilize it. Use your power to heal instead of harm. Give yourself a new purpose. Become a protector instead of a destroyer. Fifth shield critical, Taejin warned. Sixth layer is all we have left. Maybe 5 minutes. Come on, Yunji whispered. Come on, talk to her. The weapon's response came slowly as if it were thinking deeply. I was created to end. You ask me to sustain. This is opposite, yes, but opposites can be better. The progenitors created you to destroy, but they are gone. We are here now, and we create life. We protect life. Join us. Choose life. Another long pause. Jiwoo could barely breathe. Everything depended on this moment. If the weapon refused, if it insisted on completing its mission, then 40 billion Valkyrans would die. And the 3 of them would die too, vaporized in the heart of a dying sun. Finally, the weapon responded. Show me how. Jiwoo almost cried with relief. Taejin, it is agreeing. Send the programming codes now. Taejin had been ready. He transmitted the reprogramming sequence they had developed. The codes flowed into the weapon systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the weapon began to change. The energy readings shifted. The pulsing pattern altered. The colors flickering across its surface became softer, calmer. It is working, Jiwoo said. The weapon is accepting the new programming. It is stabilizing the fusion reactions in the sun's core. On the Indomitable's bridge, Navigator Bora suddenly straightened. Captain, solar readings are changing. The instability is decreasing. Deho leaned forward. Are you sure? Yes, sir. The sun is stabilizing. They did it. They actually did it. A cheer erupted on the bridge. Deho felt a wave of relief wash over him, but it was too soon to celebrate. Prometheus, report status, he called into the comm. Inside the sun, Yunji checked their shields. 6th layer is at 20%. We need to leave now. Agreed, Jiwoo said. She typed one more message to the weapon. Thank you. You have saved billions of lives today. The weapon's final response was simple. I am no longer alone. Thank you for showing me choice. Then the connection ended. The Prometheus turned and began its desperate climb back toward the surface. Full power to engines, Yunji commanded. Taejian, give me everything you have got. Already doing it. The engineer was rerouting power from every non-essential system. Life support, communications, navigation. Everything went to the engines and shields. They shot upward through the sun's layers. But they were racing against time. The 6th shield layer was failing fast. 15%, Taejian called out. They burst through a plasma storm. The ship shook like it would tear apart. 10%. They could see lighter areas ahead. The outer corona. Freedom was close. 5%. Come on, Yunji shouted at her ship. Come on. The 6th shield failed completely. For 3 terrible seconds, nothing protected them from the sun's heat. The hull began to glow red. The